What's up, everybody? Your boy Melvin for our classic review. Today I'm going to be talking about thoughts. This time I did the same before with Woody Woodpecker. This time I'm doing it with a certain character. Sorry. As I was saying, a certain character has been around for a long time. I consider okay, before you have the Looney Tunes, before Mickey Mouse made his first appearance. You have a certain sailor who loves eating spinach. Only when he has to beat up the villains and save the one he loves. I'm talking about Popeye the Sailor. First featured in a comic strip called Thimble Theater on January the 17th of 1929. It then became in theatrical cartoons by Fliescher Studios. Distributed by Paramount Pictures back in 1933. Popeye had become one of the most well-known cartoon characters of all time. Hey, I made an artwork featuring him along with Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse as the three Hollywood statesmen of animation. Well, yeah, you have the one for Paramount, the one for Walt Disney, and one for Warner Brothers. I think I forgot Woody Woodpecker for Universal because I don't count Oswald since he was originally Disney. So yeah, Woody's in the statesman for Universal. And before we begin, did you hit the bell? Did you subscribe? If so, yeah. Popeye the Sailor has to be one of the iconic ones. If so, have you been bullied? You better eat some spinach. It will help you defeat the enemies you hate the most. So yeah, Popeye the Sailor was unlike other cartoon characters that were created by the studio, Popeye was actually was a fictional cartoon character created by Elzie Chrysler Cigar. Made its first appearance in the daily feature comic strip Thimble Theater on January 17th of 1929. The strip was in its 10th year when Popeye made its debut, but the one-eyed sailor quickly became the lead character, and Thimble Theater became one of King Feature's most popular properties during the 1930s. After the passing of Cigar back in 1938, Thimble Theater continued by several writers and artists, most notably Cigar's assistant Bud Sagendorf. It was formerly renamed Popeye. The strip continues to appear in first-run installments on Sundays, written and drawn by R.K. Mulholland. The daily strips are reprints of old Sagendorf stories. By 1933, Max Fleischer of Fliescher Studios adapted the Thimble Theater characters into a series of Popeye the Sailor, which became his theatrical cartoon shorts for Paramount Pictures. These cartoons proved to be the most popular of the 1930s, and Fliescher Studio, which later became Paramount's own Famous Studios, continued production through 1957. Cartoons produced during World War II, including the Allied propaganda, as was common among cartoons at the time. These cartoons shorts are now owned by Turner Entertainment and distributed by its own sister company, Warner Brothers. Over the years, Popeye has appeared in comic books, television cartoons, video games, hundreds of advertisements, perishable products ranging from spinach to candy cigarettes, and the 1980 live-action film directed by Robert Altman and starring Robin Williams as the sailor himself. And Peanuts creator Charles Schulz said, "I think Popeye was a perfect comic strip, consistent in drawing and humor." In 2002, TV Guide ranked Popeye as number 20 of its 50 greatest cartoon characters of all time list. Which, before we begin, because remember, unlike other, like the Woody Woodpecker one, remember Woody was an original from Universal Studios animation division. Popeye started out as a comic strip character. So it's gonna be like a longer one, learn about the sailor. We all go way back in 1929. Power story characterization varied depending on the medium. In his debut storyline, Popeye's superhumanly postponed strength and endurance stem from the lack of luck he acquired by rubbing the hair on his head of Bernice, a wiffle hen, thus enabling him to survive 12 gunshots wounds by the end of 1929. However, Popeye Stray had become a regularized fixture of his character, with Spinach, by 1932, became the primary repository of his prowess. Sweet Pea is Popeye's ward in the comic strip, but his custody is unconstant in the cartoons. Which is actually funny, that's me. The reason I'm talking too weird because I have like a cut on my tongue. Under my tongue was making me impossible to talk right. Damn. But yeah, and also Popeye's exploits are also enhanced by recurring plot elements. One is the love triangle among Popeye, Olive, and Bluto, sometimes called Brutus, and Bluto's endless machination to claim Olive as at Popeye's expense. Another is his near saintly perversiveness in overcoming any obstacle to please Olive, who often is temporarily renounced Popeye for Bluto. Which is actually pretty funny, you ask me. But before we know about Popeye, we have to go to way the beginning. A comic strip called Thimble Theater. Segar's Thimble Theater debuted in New York Journal on December 19th of 1919. The paper owner, William Randolph Hearst, also known as the King Feature Syndicate, who syndicated the strip Thimble Theater. It was intended as a replacement for midget movies by Ed Willen. Willen having recently resigned from King Features. While initially failing to attract a large audience, the strip, which of course, nevertheless, increasingly accumulated a modest following as the 1920s continue. At the end of the first decade, the strip resultantly appeared in dozens of newspapers and had acquired a contemporary Sunday strip, which had debuted on January 25th of 1925 with Hearst's own New York American paper. Thimble Theater. First main characters were lanky, long-nosed slacker Harold Hamgravy, rapidly shortened to simply Hamgravy, and his scrappy, headstrong girlfriend Olive Oil. In its earliest week, the strip featured the duo alongside a rotating cast of primary one-shot characters acting out in various roles and stories and scenarios in a paradox theatrical style, hence the strip's name. As its first year progressed, however, numerous elements of the premise would be relinquished, including the recurring character Willie Wormwood, introduced as a parody of the melodrama villainy, soon rendering the strips a series of episodic comic and adult depictions. The life of a dysfunctional romantic exploits of Hamgravy and Olive Oil. it could be classified as a gag-a-day comic during the period. In mid-1922, Cigar began increasingly engaged in lengthier, often month-long storylines. By the end of the following year, the strip had effectively transited into a comedy adventure style focused on Ham, Olive, and Olive's ambitious but mythical demented brother, Castor Oil. Initially a minor character, yet arguably the protagonist of the strip in 1924. Castor and all his parents, Cole and Nana Oil, also made a frequent appearance beginning in the mid-1920s. By late 1920s, the strip had likewise a number of notable characters beyond the Spear of Ham and the Oil family, including Castor Oil's wife, Celinda, to whom he was married from 1926 and 1928. Her wealthy, misanthropic father, Mr. Lotz, and Castor's fine cockerel Blizzard, all whom had exited the strip by the close of 1928, although Celinda will eventually materially reunite with Castor under R.K. Milhouse's authorship almost a century later. Damn. Weeks later, a trip back, Popeye was shot Sorry. Ugh. And here comes when the Sarah first appeared. Popeye first appeared on the strip in 1929, as a minor character. He was initially hired by Castor Oil and Hangravy to crew a ship during the voyage to Dice Island, the location of a casino owned by a crooked gambler, Faithwell. Castor Oil intended to break the bank at the casino using an unbeatable good luck conferred by stroking his hair on the back of his head of Bernice the Wolfling Hen. Weeks later, on the trip back, Popeye was shot many times by Jack Snork, an undercover stooge for Faithwell's, but survived by rubbing Bernice's head. After the adventure, Popeye left the ship, but owing the reader's reaction, he was brought back after the absence of only 5 weeks. Ultimately, the Popeye character became so popular that he was given a larger role by the following year, and the strip was taken up by many more newspapers as a result. Initially, strips presented Olive as being less than impressed with Popeye, but she eventually left Ham to become Popeye's girlfriend in March of 1930, precipitating Ham's exit as a regular a week later. Over the years, however, she is often displayed as a fickle attitude towards the sailor. Initially, Castor Oil continued to come up with get-the-rich-quick schemes and enlisted Popeye in misadventures. By the end of 1939, however, he settled down as a detective and later on bought a ranch out west. Castor's appearance had recently became sparse over time. As Castor faded from the strip, J. Wellington Wimpy, often known as short for Wimpy, a soft-spoken, eloquent, yet cowardly hamburger-loving moocher who would gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today, was introduced into the Sunday strip, in which he became a fixture in the late 1932. After his first appearance in the daily strip in March 1933, Wimpy became a full-time major character alongside Popeye and Olive. By July of 1933, Popeye received foundling baby in the mail, whom he adopted and named Sweet Pea. Other regular characters introduced in the strip Following its retool in 1930 were George G. Gizell, a irresistible cobbler who spoke in a heavily affected accent and arbitrarily attempted to murder or wish death upon Wimpy. Roughhouse, the temperamental owner of a budget diner who served a long-suffering foil to Wimpy. Eugene the Jeep, a yellow, vaguely dog-like animal from Africa with magical powers. The Sea Hag, a terrible pirate. And the last witch on Earth, Alice the Goon, a monstrous creature who entered the strip as the Sea Hag's henchman and continued as Sweet Pea's babysitter. The hapless, perspectively anxious King Blozo's unintelligent lackey Oscar, Popeye's lecherous, super unreal father, Poop Deck Pappy, and Tor, an ageless, dim-witted caveman. Seeger's strip was quite different than from the theatrical cartoons that follow. What do you expect? There have been a lot of changes until cool things like with a heavier emphasis on verbal comedy and made characters that never appeared in the cartoons among King Blozo and Rough House. Spinach usage, a trait introduced in 1931, was comparatively infrequent, and Bluto appeared in only one story arc. Seeger signed some of his earlier Popeye comic strip with Cigar, his last name being a homophone as Cigar, pronounced Cigar. Comic historian Brian Walker stated, Cigar offered up a masterful blend, a comedy, fantasy, satire, suspense, and Thimble Theater starring Popeye. Only to Popeye's increase of profile, Thimble Theater became one of King Feature's most popular strips by the 1930s, and eventually, following the success of the strip meant Cigar earning $100,000 a year at the time of his death. The strip continued after Cigar's death in 1938 on the circumstance of the artists and writers following the eventual change to Popeye in the 1970s and the cancellation of the daily strip in 1992 in favor of reprints. The comic, now solely a Sunday strip, remains one of the longest running strips in syndication today. Which, shit. That's a long time, ain't it, huh, boys? Sorry, when you talk with a tongue like this. He also appeared in comics, including reprints. But the one people want to see more is his famous ones. His theatrical animated cartoons. On November 1932, King Feature signed an agreement with Fliescher Studios to have Popeye and other Thimble Theater characters appear in a number of cartoon series, animated cartoons released by Paramount Pictures. The first cartoon in this series was released in 1933, and Popeye cartoons remain a staple of Paramount's release schedule for nearly 25 years. Sorry. William Costello was the original voice of Popeye, a voice that was replicated by the later performers such as Jack Mercer and Mae Questel. Even Mae Questel, if you don't remember that name, that is a familiar because Mae Questel is famously known for providing the voice of Betty Boop. And also, she reprised her role as Betty Boop in the film Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And also appeared as the aunt in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Yeah, that's her as the old lady. Damn, what a life she had. Many of the Thimble Theater characters, including Wimpy, Poop Deck Pappy, Eugene the Jeep, eventually made appearance in Paramount cartoons, although Olive Oil's extended family and Ham Gravy were mostly absent. Thanks to the animated short series, Popeye became even more sensation than he is in the comics. And by 1938, polls showed that the Sailor was Hollywood's most popular cartoon character. Although Cigar may have used Spinach as a prop a few times, it was Max Fleischer who realized its potential at the trademark. And in every Popeye cartoon, the Sailor eventually put into what seemed to be a hopeless situation, upon which, usually after being beaten, a can of spinach becomes available, and Popeye quickly opens the can and consumes its spinach. Upon swallowing it, Popeye's physical strength immediately becomes superhuman and saves the day, very often rescuing Olive Oil from dire situations. It did not stop there, as Spinach could also give Popeye the skills and power he needed, as in the cartoon short The Man on the Flying Trapeze, where he gave him acrobatic skills. In May 1942, Paramount Pictures assumed ownership of Fliescher Studios, fired the Fleischers, and began reorganizing the studio, which is now renamed Famous Studios. In the early Famous era, shorts were often World War II themed. The feature Popeye fighting the Nazis and Japanese soldiers. Notably, in 1942 short, You're a Sap Mr. Jap in 1943. The Popeye series began to be produced in Technicolor, beginning with Mr. Honor the Mayor. The famous Paramount continued producing Popeye series until 1957, with the last one, Spooky Swallows, being the last of the 125 famous shorts in the series. Paramount then sold the Popeye film catalog to Associate Artists Productions, which was bought out by United Artists in 1958. Through various meagers, the rights are currently controlled by Warner Bros. Discovery. In 2001, the Cartoon Network, under the supervision of animation historian Jerry Beck, created a new incarnation of the Popeye show. The show aired the Fleischer and Famous Studios Popeye shorts in version approximately in their original theatrical release, by editing copies of the original opening and closing credits, taking or recreating various sources onto the beginning and end of each cartoon, or in some cases in the complete, uncut original theatrical versions direct from such prints that originally contained the front and end of Paramount credits. The series aired 135 Popeye shorts over 58 episodes until March of 2004. The Popeye show continued to air in Cartoon Network spin-off network Boomerang. I think I remember this because, first of all, Popeye was the first cartoon show I seen. So this is where I seen the Popeyes. From 2001 until 2004, that explains the marathon until it ended. Pity. It was a good show. While many of Paramount Popeye cartoons remain unavailable on video, a handful of cartoons have fallen into public domain and are found in numerous low-budget VHS tapes and later DVDs, where Turner Entertainment acquired the cartoons in 1986. A long, laborious legal struggle with King Features kept the majority of the original Popeye shorts from the official video release for more than 20 years. King Features opted to release a box set of the 60s made for television Popeye the Sailor cartoons to retain the rights in 2004. In the meantime, Home video rights to the Associate Arts production library were transferred to CBS and Fox Video and to MGM UA Home Video in 1986, eventually to Warner Home Video, in which in 1999, in 2006, Warner Home Video announced it was released all the Popeye cartoon produced from theatrical release between 1933 to 1957 and DVD, restored and uncut. The 3 volumes were released between 2007 and 2008, covering all of the black and white cartoons produced in 1933 to 1943. In December of 2018, a 4th volume featuring the first 14 color shorts from 1943 to 1945 were released on DVD and Blu-ray for Warner Home Video through Warner Archive Collection. Yeah. And here's something special because the first ever colored Popeye cartoon was the one released in 1936, I believe. Was Popeye the Sailor meets Sinbad the Sailor. And this was during the time when Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs were released, and the Fleischers were watching how will this succeed or will this fail. And when they saw this, success. At first, they want to do a Popeye movie, which why not? But instead, they did the story of Gulliver's Travels, which, of course, released a couple of years after Snow White. It did earn a nomination in the Academy Awards, but lost to The Wizard of Oz for the music. It was actually pretty good, actually. The Gulliver's Travels was pretty good. They also made another one called Mr. Bug Goes to Town, which I think was the reason why that one bombed because of one thing, World War II. But yeah, back to this. There was original cartoons, which, well, let's say the cheaper version, like the 60s version of Popeye, including one called Popeyes and Son, which, of course, was first released in 1987, which features Popeye and his son. And yeah, we see Blue and his family as well. Like he's wealthy. Well, shit. And also, there was a CGI animated one by Lionsgate called Popeye's Voyage, The Quest for Pappy. What coincides the 75th anniversary of Popeye. Billy West performed the voice of Popeye, described the production as the hardest job I ever did. It was like a buzzsaw on your own throat. Which, I would agree. I saw some of the schedule like, what the fuck am I seeing? As for the one called the famous theme song, Popeye's famous theme song, which it was written by William Costello and later by Jack Mercer. Back released in 1933 and recorded in 1933. Which was composed by Sammy Lerner. Popeye's theme song titled I'm Popeye the Sailor Man, composed by Sammy Lerner in 1933 for Fleischer's first Popeye the Sailor cartoon, which of course is titled That, which became the sailor's hornpipe, has often been used in introduction to Popeye's theme song. A cover of the theme song performed by Face to Face, including the 1995 tribute album Saturday Morning Cartoons Greatest Hits, produced by Rob Still of MCA Records, a jazz version performed by Ted Hussein Standard Orbit Quartet. Appears on their 2009 Summit record release, Underdog and Other Stories. It only has like 5 verses. It says, I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm strong to the finish, 'cause I eat me spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Actually, there's more. If you've seen the very first Popeye cartoon, he sings the whole song. This is only the first six. Wait, let me count. 1, 2. Yeah, the first 5 verses. That's it. It's actually a lot longer. And I'm not joking. I heard the original, and it's a lot longer. There was even radio, which I did not know that. That was from 1935 to 1938. And of course, we have the feature film starring Rob Williams as the famed sailor, which of course, received negative reviews, but became a cult classic. As for the town of Sweet Haven, it became a tourist attraction called Popeye's Village in Malta, which became a famed tourist attraction, bringing tourists everywhere. Which I actually like the movie. It's actually pretty cool. I think Ron Williams did a great job as Popeye, including Shirley. If you know who she is, if you might recognize her, she was alongside Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Yeah, what Stanley Kubrick drove her to hell. She played Olive Oil, which she was pretty good in that film. There was even a canceled animated film. There was a teaser back in 2010. You know which one I'm talking about. Which had Genndy Tartakovsky directing the film. And it's been pushed back over and over. Until, let's just say, a certain couple things from a crappy emoji film and Hotel Transylvania. Originally, by May of 2020, the film was back up until Tartakovsky confirmed the project is dead by July of 2022. But somehow, back in July 22nd of 2022, an animatic for the movie was later leaked onto the internet. I remember because when I read about it, I was like, I just hit on YouTube and YouTube just removed like quick. So yeah, there's an full animatic film version of the Genndy Tartakovsky Popeye film in the internet somewhere. So yeah, it's the full film that we all want to see, which is actually maybe pretty cool. Which would be pretty cool. But yeah, there's been a lot because although Popeye had marketing tie-ins such as restaurants, like there's one called Wimpy's name was borrowed from Wimpy restaurant chain that called Wimpy Burger. The popular food chain Popeye, which was founded in 1972, is the second largest quick service chicken restaurant group behind Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was not named for the sailor, but some Popeye references were featured in few commercials throughout the early years as part of the licensing deal with King Features. Which I do remember because the Popeyes here from where I live, when I was in middle school, they had Popeye feature on the wall, literally. So yeah, he was featured that. I don't know when they removed it. I think it was kind of stupid because hey, it brings more legend to the character. And yeah, Popeye became an icon after the years. And how long has it been? Shit. 75 years, I believe. No. How long has Popeye been around? He first appeared in 1929, I believe. So it's like almost... Shit. Oh, it's Mickey, actually, because Mickey appeared in the same as well. So it'd be almost 100 years right now. Yeah, I think it has to be 100 years. Yeah, I think it's almost 100 years because he's about the same year around as Mickey Mouse. So technically, almost 100 years. He's been around for 100 years and is still an icon to this day. And everybody show you like a spinach, they'll play a little guessing game. Okay, what cartoon character eats spinach? Popeye. And I remember watching Popeye when I was a kid. There were a lot of good cartoons. I like mostly the Halloween one. Like there's one that Bluto was trying to scare Olive. There's one he dresses like a headless man, where he has a pumpkin on his head. Good evening. Is this the olive oil residence? Just by removing the pumpkin, no head, freaking her out. When Popeye opens it, it just blew, smashing the pumpkin on his head, framing Popeye for the joke. I think there was another one when Bluto made himself invisible, and Olive Oil and Popeye go to a supposed haunted house, and Bluto's playing a prank until Popeye finds out and beats the shit out of him, until he accidentally knocks Olive Oil out. When she found out, she just chased Popeye with a pipe to knock him out. Which is actually pretty funny. I think the most iconic one has to be his nephews. Sweet Pie, Pea Pie, Poo Pie, and shit. Okay, sorry, but... Oh yeah, here it is. It's Pea Pie, Pip Pie, Pea Pie, Poo Pie, and Popeye, the nephews, which... Wait, if these were his nephews... Does Popeye have like a sibling or something? They never confirmed that. They can't be orphans because they look just like him. And look at Poop That Pappy. That means he must have more kids. And who's the one who had kids with him? That's a good question. They never explained it. We only learned about all his family, like Nana Oil, Castor Oil, which... Fun fact, they appeared in the movie. In the Ron Williams movie. They appeared in the movie. All of them. And Popeye, the evil tyrannic landlord. And Bluto, the enforcer. How scummy was that? But yeah, folks. And those are my thoughts on Popeye the Sailor. And to tell you the truth, after 100 years, hey... He deserves it because, hey, we already have 100 years of Warner Brothers, 100 years of Disney. Hey, now we have 100 years of Popeye. He deserves the fame he deserves. I hope people still remember him. And to this day, I consider him one of the great cartoon characters, along with Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, Woody Woodpecker, and other great characters that come through the years, and still inspire those to generations to come. Until then, remember to subscribe, hit the bell, like this video, and if you're new to the channel, remember to... I have to repeat the whole thing, but hey. And remember the goal to hit 1 million subscribers, or at least 500k, because by May of this year is our 11th anniversary, from 2013 to 2023, so let's make this happen. Until then, have a great weekend, everybody. See you next week. Stay safe. Until then, toodaloo.